Hi, everyone. Welcome to K8s-Infra meeting. We have September 13, and this is the bi-weekly meeting. As usual, please be mindful of anyone in this call. So this call will be recorded and published on YouTube, so be careful about whatever you say and be kind to anyone in this call. So I don't see any new people on this call, so I'm just gonna go for the billing review. I'll go on GCP. I don't see. Well, I think that's more like a communication for Teams. I would say it's more like a reverse of a cost consumption related to BigQuery. So in order to, I would say, deprecate the in-tree cloud provider in KK, we revert the periodic pro job doing 3A, so collecting the data and pushing to BigQuery. That's imply, I would say, an upstick in the cost for BigQuery. I think that's fine, but just like we should kind of monitor this. So it's more, yeah, Jim still has full context of the situation. So I think we just monitor this, just put it there.
So when we did the change for the entry cloud provider, switching the feature flags to like force everybody to acknowledge that they want to use the entry cloud provider, even though it is going to go away. Then we had to go adjust all the CI jobs to adapt to it. And like we had to monitor all the CI jobs to make sure that they are still functioning, So we turned on the BigQuery jobs to run more frequently. I think I'm almost done. Probably Monday or Friday, I'm going to go and switch it back to once a day. Right now it's running every 4 hours. Yeah, I'm going to switch it back to once a day.
Okay, I just want to put that basically. I think that's like the only change I would say I noticed over the last few weeks on GCP. So I'm not really worried about that. I think we have plenty of credit to cover that span. So I think that's fine.
Has the I don't. Yeah, no, never mind. The packaging new URLs thing doesn't show up here because that's Google infrastructure. So never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, but basically, James posted a graph about basically bandwidth consumption. So over the last month, I think we capture half of the traffic.
Okay.
And it's kind of expressed in like this amount we spent for the entire month of August. So we spent 42K, which is when I checked on the Fastly platform. You can check it, or I can give you a share. I think we bandwidth from Fastly was 635 terabytes, which is like not, which is a good thing, but I think we need to basically be patient and see how things happening. Once we change the GCS bucket, we might basically see a shift, because I think I was discussing with SIG release yesterday about switching from Kubernetes release bucket to a community-owned one, so we can see change. We stop publish there, we leave that in read-only, and we shift that, so we can see bandwidth changing, but at least have full ownership on where we push the binaries. That, do we have a note ticker, by the way? Can we have a note ticker, please?
I'll put in stuff where I can.
Okay, thank you. If I check, I would say yeah, last month. Yeah, I think we are around the same monthly cost. So I think I don't see any specific change. Yeah, if I try to compare that to, I would say, yeah, I don't really see we have a delta of 1K, so I don't really see that as a huge change. So I think we find them on, yeah. Oh, where's that? Yeah, I don't really see anything specific regarding GCP. Is there like anything regarding GCP? So just do the okay, AWS. See this. So for I think we can try to compare to July to see things. The registry is mostly the same. Crowd didn't really change over time. We see changing. Yeah, I think like the one change is like we now have like tests running in the scale account. And by the way, James, I think we'll blow up 20K this weekend.
In the weekend?
Yeah.
Until we switch the janitor on?
Yeah. So it was like from I think Friday to until we switch. We put the janitor was like then we spent 20K because there were like 3,000 instances running because the job didn't clone up.
Yeah,
which is good.
Good and bad.
It's a good thing. I mean, like, yeah, we now have like spend for the scale. I suspect we're gonna see more of that because I see pull requests where we just increase the number of nodes and the number of bots for testing. So yeah,
right.
suspect.
So just an update for the folks here. We started with 1,000 nodes. We went to 2,000 and then 3,000, and then from 3,000 to 4,200. Along the way, we had to adjust quota limits and API throttle limits and things like that. So we were working with AWS support on that, and like some internal AWS folks as well. So we are at 4,200, and we are maxing out the vCPUs that we've been allocated. So we've requested one more increase from 8,000 vCPUs to like 1,600 vCPUs. So that should cover us for running at least one CI job with 5,000 nodes. We are also trying to go from a large instance to a medium instance so that we can run 2 CI jobs, one periodic and one for pre-submit testing. So so we are doing all that. I think we will start using more regions, running different jobs in different regions. So there is the cost is going to increase. So once we have it stabilized at 5K, I think we're going to stop there for 129 because 5K is what we usually test on the GCP side as well. But then after, we can decide what to do at Chicago. I did, I did a CFP, small, tiny CFP for the contributor summit. So we can all sit down together and plan out like, what do we want to do for 130 and beyond. Okay.
Sounds good.
Just crazy to think 130.
Yeah. I still remember trying to deploy the pre 1.0 stuff back at UMich.
So the playground account, this is my question for James and Mohammed.
Yeah,
I can answer that one.
Like that. It is not a playground anymore. It is. It has a lot of jobs, both on the E2E side as well as the node side. So I think we need to drop the word playground from the name because it is, being used for release informing job as well.
Can we move that to what are we running? E2E test or unit test?
It's not running unit test. It's running essentially kube test to EC2 and provider test infra. From those repositories, we are standing up different jobs for testing SIG node, as well as like yesterday I added cloud provider AWS as well. So that is running on that account as well.
Can we adjust your yourself to use Bosco, basically the Bosco's account?
Yeah, Bosco's is difficult at this point. I'm still investigating it. The problem is there is a role that is needed, and like I'm trying to figure out if there is a way to not require a role at this point. So until then, I think we're going to continue. So the same thing is true for one more set of one more account that we were just talking about before the call. There is an account that is being used, which was set up by an Amazon employee a long time ago, and he's no longer with the company. And it is not very high volume or anything like that. It is like a 1K per year, but it is running like the AWS control manager, load balancer, the EBS CSI driver, FSX CSI driver. So it's running jobs from all those satellite repositories that we have for AWS. So we need to switch them over to an official account because we don't know what will happen to that account in the longer term.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to that. So yeah, Bosco's isn't actually a good approach because we've got different set of tests, right? So we run node E2 test is one set of tests that we run, and then there's the cloud provider AWS, and then these other extra pieces of projects that test against AWS, right? They can all live in a single account where each group of projects occupies a single region with reasonable quotas set on there.
Yeah. I'm not ruling Boscos out, but the way they are right now, I don't want to add Boscos and make our lives more difficult than it is right now.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing that Boscos doesn't support is like, I want to use one Google Cloud project or one AWS account, but I want to shard it into regions because you can do that. Allows you to use one account or one Google Cloud project for a lot of things, which you can't do today.
Yeah, again, let's defer those things for later. I will open up an issue in one of the repositories to look at Bosco's migration of different jobs, but it's not a high priority at this point, given the sheer amount of other things that we need to do for the rest of the jobs.
Yeah, I think the priorities right now is like full ownership of the things we want to use inside the community, and we can figure out the organization later.
Yeah.
As long we are aware of basically where things are.
Right.
Yeah,
are
we
used
can run a
and
doc
how
that
they are.
says these are the accounts we use, these are different regions we test different sub-projects in, and this is what the quotas are.
Mohammed, one of the problem with not using Boscos is that the CI job gets really tied down to this specific account, and we start doing like special things, and then we don't know how to migrate the job to another account.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
I think there's like
I don't think that's true at all.
we can talk again.
We'll have to talk about it. But
right. We are doing the project right now, so let's wrap up the conversation here about like the playground account. It's no longer playground, right, Mohammed? So
let's rename it and make a new playground account.
Yeah.
Renaming is not possible. You have to shut down the account. That's the problem with those accounts.
You can rename accounts, right?
You can't rename a AWS account. You have to like basically when you try to do that, it's going to try to destroy the account. I did that many times.
You can do an AWS account. You can do it in the console and then patch the state later in Terraform.
No, you in the console you change the name.
Yeah.
What's happening is like in the console we change the name, but the ID is not changing.
We don't want to change the ID though. It's fine.
Right.
The ID,
okay.
We don't care. It's a number.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So when somebody is looking at this cost, like, wow, what are these folks doing in a playground account, right?
Okay,
yeah, we're not talking about the number. We just want to change the label that we see, right?
Yeah.
Right next to the number.
Okay, we'll try to do that later.
There was an open issue to actually put in Terraform all the things we did by hand in that account. There's quite a few things that we did. I think doing things like that will ease concerns about migrating things to different account if you do it in the future.
Yeah, you have. I think both of you have admin of the account, so you can have a S3 bucket when you put everything to Terraform. I don't have a specific concern about how you want to handle that. As long as like inside a remote state, accessible, that's fine. I think for the moment, I don't want to centralize remote state for Terraform because we don't have SSO. We don't have SSO, so it's going to be painful to deal with all of this. So currently, it's fine. We have each account has its own S3 bucket for Terraform state hosting, and that's fine.
The bucket, the state bucket isn't important. The important thing is the things we did are written in Terraform, and we can clean that up later.
So it's just a matter of doing an import in Terraform.
Yeah, we'll get it done as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else anything about billing review?
No, nothing more other than that.
I have one thing about the AWS account, but I want to talk to that with an open conversation so we can move forward with that conversation.
Right. So are we still around 1 million for the year from last time?
Depending on how the scale tests are running.
Of course, it's September 15th, so October, November, December, so 2.5 months. Okay.
Yeah. I think we're gonna be assuming we add more. I think it's really up to how we want to handle the scale test. Like basically, if we say we're gonna have 5K nodes test by December, I don't expect we reach 1 million because there's a few things we go down on this.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't really expect we reach 1 million, but I honestly don't know. That would depend on basically
There's a lot of
how
as long as we don't blow out, like we did last weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it too early
yeah,
to
as
have a
long we don't-
conversation about reserved instances and things like that?
very early, because we don't even
Okay.
know, we are not done with the migration of the proud job.
Right.
I think
Okay.
that's like the first thing. So yeah, I think it's like the one thing we need to talk after all the proud job I migrate to GCP and AWS. So we have nothing less inside Google infrastructure, and now we can talk about instance reservation.
Yep.
And once we have like I would say a borrowing cadency regarding scaling test, when we say, okay, we have 5K test node, we have 3K test node, 1K test node,
Right.
running smoothly over time. And we can like say, okay, for this account, we're doing instance reservation.
Right.
Okay.
So Bob, I think the GCP per year has also come down, right? It's hovering around 2 million this year.
Less than that.
Less than that. So
Yeah, we're in a good place.
okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Let's continue to make sure that we have the same level of investment. So we don't have to jump around and do more heroic efforts to move things around, right?
Yep. Play hide the test job.
That's why I think the goal, and thank you so much, Ricky, for driving this, is have all the proud job inside the community infrastructure. If we can have that by end of the year, that would be great, because we can have a projection for next year and say, okay, this is the one thing we have, this is running for like an entire month. We can do a projection for next year and say, okay, how we reserve instance in AWS. In GCP, it's not possible because of how GCP builds stuff, but on AWS, I think it's possible. I have to talk with AWS OSP about this, but I think our goal should be trying to have every product job we want inside the community infrastructure. And based on that, we can project for 2024.
Sounds good.
So actually, sorry, Ricky.
Oh, so I was just gonna say we're starting to get close on the Prow job migration. We're starting to get close to the end of the jobs that can like easily move, right? The jobs that basically have little to no requirements to move. So I'm wondering if anybody has any thoughts on how to start addressing. We've got a little over. K8s is a big piece of that. I know you're working that, but outside of K8s, we've got 600 or 700 jobs that they still don't right now have like a path to migrate, or are hung up on some piece of either infrastructure or something that is disqualifying it from moving right now. So I just want to see if anybody had thoughts.
Yeah, I think we need to go look at them and what buckets they fall in for sure. But I do have another related question, Ricky, which is when you're talking about the number of jobs, you're talking about like number of definitions of the job in our YAML files, or the actual number of jobs that run
The jobs in our YAML files.
Okay. Do you have were you able to pull information on like how many jobs actually run, and like what is the frequency of each job for every 2-week period or something like that?
I don't have anything plumbed up to do that outside of the Prow website.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we might.
It's a good point. This may be significantly less, and a lot of jobs may not be running.
Yeah.
I think there's a mutual way to proceed about this. The most simple way should be to basically say we migrate everything to GCP, and based on that, we can look on how we can do. I would say my basic way will be to say let's migrate everything, any E2E test, to GCP.
Ricky, I think you're more thinking about from GCP to EC2, AWS rather. But then I think what Arno is talking about is from Google infrastructure to GCP, right?
Yeah.
Like, which means adding the cluster and adding the default cluster, and making sure that the job doesn't blow,
Right. Yeah. Definitely. My focus has been moving to EKS, but
Right. This might be easier to chew.
Yeah.
Is basically what we are saying. This might be something that we could script and try.
yeah. One concern that I maybe have of you know there are projects and jobs that kind of like you said are not run very frequently, right? Like the Haskell client that hasn't been updated in probably a year. Is there any concern from your guys' part on trying to make sure we trigger these jobs?
No, like make the change. Like if it breaks, let people fix it.
Okay.
And I'm resurrecting the effort where we look at things that are broken for a long period of time. So like we'll catch it using that mechanism, right? And like we'll tell people, hey, if you're not using it and it's broken all the time, then we're just going to shut it down if you don't fix it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like if you don't make a noise in the woods, did you act when the tree falls, right? Like, so it's the same concept, right? If nobody's watching it and it doesn't matter to anybody, then why should we run it, right?
Yeah, I think we in the past what we did was try to do some. I think James did that last year was like campaigning to the SIG, so they basically take care of the project. And because I think there's a file I can look into that where we basically collect the number of days where a job is failing, and we saw jobs failing for like 2 years, and no one care about this.
Right.
So I think ultimately the role is like trying to force push the different SIG to do the migration, and if it's failing, it's up to them. If it's matter, they will fix it.
Right.
But our expectation should not to do basically to try to move things. I mean, trying to push to migrate the product jobs. We can revert if like, yeah, it's critical. I don't think any, I would say, master blocking or master informing inside Google infrastructure anymore. So the rest should be straightforward. So
right.
The only situation where I see a revert to the Google infrastructure is where those product jobs need specific credential or external asset in order to run.
I think
if they don't need that, we should just migrate.
Yeah. I do have a PR in K8s.io, or sorry, an issue in K8s.io that I've been waiting for some feedback on.
At this point, let's make sure that every job has a cluster, and by if it doesn't have a cluster, then we should add the default cluster.
Sure. Yeah.
That is owned by K8s-Infra, and then we'll see where things fall, right? Like now is the right time to do it, because later when we start hitting deadlines, then people are going to yell more at us. So the earlier we do it in the 129 cycle, the better it's going to be.
Okay. Yeah, I can absolutely get default added to everything I've got.
Okay.
I've got a tool in place to find all that, so it should be pretty quick.
Thank you, Ricky.
This is jumping to my item in the agenda, but it kind of relates to this. I've talked to like Ben and a few others about this. But I think it's coming time where we actually set a policy that we will not execute, we will not use CI, we will not use external resources unless they are owned by the community into a point where we can support them. Things like any of the Microsoft tests. This is also to kind of like serve as a forcing function to like, hey, it's time you bring people to the table to do this. We can't just, hey, this is broken, let's poke some internal person at Microsoft to fix.
Yeah.
And with, a lot of things getting out of the we're at a good pace for getting out of all the Google owned specific stuff.
Yeah.
I think we can, define that going here and give a timeline. We're just like, you need to be out of here, or we're just going to stop testing.
Or publishing the tests.
Yeah.
And like making actually people can do whatever they want in their repos. We can't stop them from doing that, but they can't be release informing or release blocking from a policy perspective, right? Like those are the you can't stop some specific group of people in a specific repository to like add CI jobs on whatever infrastructure.
Yeah, if they used like a GitHub action or something like that and spun it up that way, like we don't have significant control over that.
Right. So the knobs that we have is it can't be a release informing or a release blocking job, right? That is what we can mandate, and we can mandate that it's not going to show up on test grid. You can't add it to test infra, basically, right? Go nuts, but it just can't come to us. So
ideally, honestly, I'd still like sort of a global policy, like it has to be some community owned thing, because like all it takes is an employee leaving and then suddenly things break.
Absolutely. Agreed with you. Do you want to pen on drafting the policy?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Do you want to take the pen on drafting a Google Doc for the policy so we can socialize it at KubeCon and like make sure that the people hear from us directly rather than us throwing a policy in their face as well, right?
Yeah. This also actually would kind of want, like, I was talking to Marco, I think it was this week, it might have been last week, about like setting a timeline to fully shut down apt.kubernetes.io and yum.kubernetes.io. Potentially to like announce that with the 129, the next release, and then give it like a year, and it's just like, okay, these are turned off on this date. You have,
As you know, nobody listens to us until we shut things off. So anyway, we can try.
I can say internally that they are more than happy to shut it down whenever we want.
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
I think because we don't want to basically spend I would say the consensus is like we should draft a policy we need to embed in the charter of the SIG so we can clarify how we do ownership of the structure. We can draft that, have a conversation about it in KubeCon, and try to put that in the charter. I think that's the overall goal. In terms of deprecation, I don't exactly know how we want to handle this, because it's like sometimes it's sensitive subject or a delicate subject, because you don't necessarily want to shut down things, but you want to slowly make sure people shift away from the old infrastructure. We can do brownout. We can ask Google to do brownout, schedule shutdown, but cut it down right away is not something it's not always the right thing to do. So we can just slowly wait for people to
brownouts are okay. Brownouts are okay. So
the main thing, like I've talked to some of the various vendors, and it's just been like, if there is something that they can, a policy or something that they can just like, hey, look, this is going to happen, we need to take action.
Yeah.
That is the forcing function.
Yeah. Let's put that out. We can do the policy, we can do the comms. We are getting better at it.
Yeah.
With regards to vendors that don't give us anything, I think Microsoft is the main one. What other vendors?
IBM
vendors do we use that we still have issues with?
I think it's a matter of communication. And if a vendor, we give a global communication about how we want to handle the different artifact and asset we use and publish.
Okay.
Now it's up to the vendor to adapt himself to what we define. It's not because a vendor build a product around Kubernetes, they have a word and say, they basically have something to say about how we handle the different assets we basically have. Our policy is to ensure we maintain sustainability of the project long term, because we are a very young project. We target 30-year life cycle, like the Debian
Very,
project.
that's a bit ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the tradition of open source. You
Okay.
see, yeah, a project is successful when it's growing, or there's like a commodity for other project over a very long time.
Right.
Okay.
We
So
are
Linux
successful
2.0.
right now, but we don't exactly know what's the future going to look like. So we need to make sure we are successful for the next 20 years.
Okay.
That's the vision we should always think about. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Whatever we're doing is like right now, make sure we are sustainable as an open source project.
Yep.
Which is really, really hard if you don't draw some
Yes.
boundaries between you as an open source project and different distribution.
Which basically means that the processes that we set in motion and the policies that we write has to survive the people, the startups, the companies, and so on, right?
And so on.
I want to break this to a level down for a moment. Speaking of what Bob said earlier about policy on Kubernetes over infrastructure, we actually tried to do something like that when we initially started the jobs migration from default cluster to the EKS cluster. And the one, let's say, conflict that we had is how this community should be, because there was different opinions, so like that people who are companies who are willing to donate resources through CNCF rather than Kubernetes community. And this is something to pay attention when trying to draft a policy, like how someone can help the Kubernetes project and like what steps should be taken to donate resource. What we tried to accomplish initially with that policy when creating it for EKS cluster is that some minimal should be that that SIG K8s-Infra can access the account to research so that we can generate credentials, see what's going on. But it doesn't really have to be donated in a way that you go through the CNCF donations process if you don't want. I have a quick link here for what we wrote back then. But like there were some disagreements on that. And like maybe if we start from a Google document, try to come up with something and to formalize this as part of charter, as Arna said, I think this might be helpful.
Yep, let's do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I'm going to drop that link in the docs or the notes.
Okay, I think we have basically AIs for this, so I think we can move to or any comment because we have 15 minutes left, so we can move to next subject. Okay, I don't see anything. So my next subject is about the cleanup of the organization, because I would like to start shut down the different account that was migrated from CNCF to us, because some of the accounts are either non-use or have resource doing nothing. So I'm gonna open a umbrella issue and trying to track down and try to shut down things. Like, so from a technical perspective, a shutdown of an account is 90 days operation. So at the moment you trigger that, you have 90 days until the account is gone. So revert that action should be fine. If somehow we notice a critical pro job is failing because the account is shut down. So I think basically this is more like I'll open a different issue about that and try to investigate. Basically outline the account I want to shut down and shut out over time slowly, so we can by end of the year have a cleanup of the organization. because there's a lot of things we migrate, but no one ever used those things. And just, I see NAT gateways doing nothing and been there for like 2 years. So I'm like interested to do that cleanup. That's it. Any question? Okay, next. I think my question is also related to how we handle the OCI artifact. And Bob might put the contributors add on because my question is related to GitHub. So
the like hosting
OCI artifact inside GitHub container repo. Because I see, so the idea is like for a long time people were reaching out about this, like where if it's possible for the community to, if it's possible for community to provide a platform where they can host OCI artifacts. So basically not only container images, but also mshard and so on. The OCI specification evolved to the point like we can store non-container images. Yeah. So my question is how we want to handle this, because I don't want the subproject come to us and ask about this. So basically they publish things through the registry. So I would like to be independent. So could they use GitHub service to basically host their own packages.
We have not, as a GitHub admins, we've not talked about other artifacts. We have generally tried to push people to use our own stuff for images or to publish the Helm charts at I'm blanking on the name of the thing.
I think it's Artifact Hub.
Yeah. Thanks. We haven't looked. We haven't discussed anything other than that.
I think I want to trigger a conversation between Git-Infra and GitHub admin. So I think the one thing is like, because over time, I would say authorization on GitHub basically is evolving to the point I would say delegate, but there's also some kind of ways become delegation to individuals. Basically, I would say not increase the surface attack, because you can have an individual accidentally releasing something with a high CVE, and that's impact the entire community. So I'm like, I would like to have a conversation about this, basically how we become better at delegate.
Yeah, probably the best way is to just create an issue in K.org and tag us and keep on us regarding that discussion. We can also talk about it more at KubeCon too.
Yeah, and also if it's, I don't want to say talk to GitHub and see what's doable and what's not doable from a, I would say, authorization perspective, so can simplify. Might be a feature request to the entire GitHub platform, or might be basically something we are not aware, so we can simplify delegation. But the idea is to stop, basically stop telling the sub-project to use the registry for sub-project, because some of them are basically cloud specific. I'm not sure we want to do that.
Quick question though. I think there's one important question that you haven't answered yet. What's stopping us from using something like kpromo to publish OCI artifacts? Because you can store that stuff in artifact registry. And
because we have a policy where we basically say the registry should should only host specific artifacts, like the Kubernetes component.
Yeah.
Or I think we have this, now we don't have a policy about how we handle sub-project. And I think this is where we need to have
My
this
understanding is
conversation.
that sub-projects could publish to registry.k8s.io, and they do.
Yeah, there are definitely some that do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a potential technical problem there.
Yeah, a lot of
Because-
sub-projects publish container images. Now, do we want to be responsible for other OCI artifacts inside the registry?
I would say yes,
Given that-
and you can kick the GitHub conversation down to the future. If our tooling supports it, which is very buggy. I think Marco can answer
Yeah.
the tooling.
Yeah, so I don't think that we really care about what's being published. If it is also compatible, it works for us. If you publish Helm chart, that's fine. The problematic part is that right now everything goes through Google Cloud Build, so you can't really push images on your own. Like you can't put it in the, even with Prow, we usually run the Google Cloud Build job. So that might be trickier to get working with Helm, whatever people want to host. I can anticipate some problems on that side, because our pretty much tooling what we have so far is made for images, but that would require some work. I think that might be one of the biggest blockers, speaking of that. But
I would say it's a matter of technical implementation, because we don't need to use Kira for that. We can, at the moment, we basically say we can have a different tooling that do the promotion, because our source of truth will be the staging repo, and we have a tooling exercise promotion to the private repository. Doesn't need to be Kira, could be another tool. That's doable. But the problem is, at the moment, we say we use a registry for any OCI artifact, we increase the bandwidth for that. There's a cost
That's
problem.
good.
Yeah, no, it's not good because there's a cost problem.
The
Who's gonna pay for basically serving one of the most popular MSHA on the planet? Who's gonna pay for that? If a
Out of
sub-project,
curiosity, how do we currently ship the Nginx Ingress Helm chart, which I'm guessing is very popular?
the Nginx is basically through the registry, they do promotion. It's served
The Helm
through the
chart?
registry. No,
And I'm not
it's
talking about the image,
MSHA.
I'm talking about the Helm chart itself.
It's artifact hub, if I remember correctly. So they're like different depending on basically where you want to pick it. You can pick that from VMware, you can pick that for artifact hub, or you can pick that for basically even GitHub. It's really up to.
Oh yeah, I
basically
see what
how-
they're doing.
Yeah.
The Helm chart, the gunzip Helm chart is stored in GitHub, and then they pull it from there.
Exactly, directly. I think GitHub can basically, if you have like, there used to be a project that basically serve MSHA directly for GitHub. So the problem is not technical in the sense like we basically cannot serve from the registry. The problem is like the cost impact of it. If we become a central registry for the MSHA of sub-project, there's a cost increase. Storage and distribution is not something we just came out from it, from a cost problem. So I don't want us to be in a situation where we basically say we become an alternative to Artifact Hub and we have to pay for that.
Okay, sounds good. You
There's
just need to put it down in
one-
writing, and then use that in your decision matrix for when you decide to allow people to publish things to GitHub.
Yeah.
Or not.
There's one thing there that is important. Like, we have to take into consideration that Helm charts are not as close in size as real container images, right? So they're basically manifests that Helm going to apply. So that is pretty much, I don't know how much exactly it can be, but I don't anticipate it to be over a few megabytes. Maybe even that is a lot. And this is something where we could potentially utilize CDN as well.
One other thing, thinking future proofing when it comes to shoving other things into OCI. Helm charts might be small, other things potentially not so much.
Exactly. Because it's
Um,
not only about the M shard, it's basically any OCI artifact we want to. Because if we open the conversation about M shard, that means we open the conversation about everything. WebAssembly extension.
Does
we can
Artifact
put
Hub
everything-
support sort of just whatever in terms of artifacts?
Yeah.
That's
It
we
could be
just
big.
publish there.
Yeah, and it could be basically just one artifact become 100 megabytes. We have to serve and we have to pay for that.
Arno,
Yeah.
I think we have 4 minutes left. So can I ask you to open an issue with the discussion that you have you were talking about? Because
Let me find.
you can make a decision right now. I don't even want to make a decision right now.
There's an open issue open a while ago by one of the SIG release date. We can have a conversation there.
Okay, let's cross-link it to a.
I think that one was specifically about that one specific project, not an overall.
Right. Yeah, we need.
Oh, we can
policy.
extend. Yeah, I will open an issue to extend that.
Right.
Yeah, I would just reference this one.
Yeah, as an example of one project who wanted to do something.
Okay, so I will give you back your 3 minutes.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Later.